are so close.
Okay. All right, President Weatherston.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Trustee McManus.
Still here.
Trustee Spillman.
Here.
Trustee Lambert.
Here.
Trustee Wishaw.
Very forceful.
Approval of the minutes from Committee of the Whole on February 17th. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to adopt the Committee of the Whole minutes from February 17th.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Holly beat you to it. Any discussion on those minutes or that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes carried. Public comment, provide 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opinions to Committee of the Whole. Committee of the Whole cannot respond as it may conflict with open meeting requirements. Come on up. We missed you. We were out there all.
Prescott Balch, 7337 Foley Road. I think you've gone too far even with the proposal that you made to push this after the election. This meaning the misinformation thing. Everybody in the room knows you're talking about me. I'm the only one that's writing lots and lots of information about your kids because I think they all stink. Most of them stink. It's a campaign issue. I'm running for a seat up there. You don't like what I'm saying. There's a troubling pattern here of the village president dispatching staff to rebut what its constituents are saying, whether in social media or public comment or whatever. There is a state law, election law, that says an employer cannot request an employee to participate in campaign activities. This issue is a campaign issue. I'm making it a campaign issue. You guys don't like what I'm saying? I'm sorry that you don't like what I'm saying. If you don't like what I'm saying, there is one way to respond to that, and that is simple. Debate it. Show up on social media where I'm talking about it and respond to me. If you don't like what I'm saying, call me. I'll change it if it's wrong. It's as simple as that. Instead, you're asking the staff to perform what your own election activities should be doing. That is, no, you're not allowed to respond. Pipe down.
I can.
Pipe down.
I can. It's
No,
my-
you can't. You just said, you
You
yourself
the
said,
government may not respond. Okay, but you're not the only one putting stuff out there. I know you want to brag about it, but you're not the only one saying stuff. You're not alone. Thank you for being here.
Doesn't he get 4 minutes?
you,
He can all the time he wants.
you are treacherously close to breaking election law.
I doubt that. Thank you.
You
very
are
much.
treacherously close to it.
There's a lawyer sitting right there. If
I
was,
don't
she would
care.
tell me.
I don't care.
Thank you for your opinion. Anybody else?
Paula Pintar, 7348 Botting Road. I want to thank you for the last discussion because you made it quite evident and we're very transparent in your objective. And I find it very interesting that we have a trustee that admitted she doesn't understand what a TID is. I didn't either, but I learned in 3 months. It didn't take me 5 years. And you're working on this board and again, delegating work to the staff. So I thank you for that conversation. It brought a lot of transparency
You're welcome.
to the discussion. So glad I didn't miss this evening. It was very
you. I'm
educational.
glad you're here. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, moving on. Committee updates, Planning Commission, Nancy?
I don't have anything direct, except that I will note that on Zoning Hub out has come the information on the next Ziebler build-out. So if anyone is interested, they can go on Zoning Hub and look at that material and see what date it will be coming forward.
Thank you, Nancy. Parks and Rec, Holly?
Nothing really new. Just I like to always just give Ryan a thumbs up because he does really great work and we've got a lot done today. So thanks.
Thank you. Utility District, Mr. Wishaw?
Nothing new to report, Mr. President.
No sinkhole?
Visit Racine County, Fran?
Yeah, Visit Racine County is in the process of looking for a permanent executive director. We have an interim director now, so we're in the process of the search for just beginning the search for a new executive director and hope to have someone in place by June. So that's where we are. Otherwise, it's doing very well. Revenues are up, costs are down. The media numbers are up, so it's running well.
Thank you, Fran. New business, update on, Gorney Park Records Building Hazardous Materials, Mr.
I have the luxury to present this.
That's what I thought. That's why I was looking at you.
Yeah. This is an update to I believe a January item where we talked about the condition of the building and the records that are at Gorney Park. We have received, I reached out to a company that does asbestos and hazardous materials assessments, usually the ones that we have done in the past with other demolitions, the police department and many others before that. They've come back with a report. Shocker, the building built in the 50s has asbestos. We're not really worried about that at this time. That's not really the question. The bigger question was the documents and the condition of the building in relation to things like mold. And the report did come back with significantly high levels of mold. They mentioned that there isn't like a specific industry standard, whether it was from the CDC or the EPA, that would determine a safe level because everybody reacts differently to it. They provide a whole lot of different data, but I was going to try to point out some of the main ones. I won't try to read the species of the fungal matter, but
do.
mold is the short version. Yeah, so the guidelines that they presented, that was a good rule of thumb is that any level above 50 spores per cubic meter was something that required further investigation, and that there were additional guidelines for commercial buildings, such as 2 to 500 were sometimes common and 5 to 1,500 at different spore species, but that they should be further investigated and determined if remediation is required. All of that said, they took 3 different air samples for mold in that building. Of 2 particular varieties of the mold resulted in a volumetric rate, pardon me. One of them, they said 50 per cubic meter was a rule of thumb. One of the samples came back at 43,700 per cubic meter. The second was 23,400, and the other was another 20+ thousand per cubic meter.
Wow.
So as part of their recommendations, because the mold was a tricky one that they wanted to highlight as difficult to, like I said, that a lot of mold, short version. The recommendations that they
Correct.
provided on how to remediate them, besides some significant long-term impacts, were to handle the documents with like HEPA filters, vacuuming the documents, things of that nature. All of this said,
Or burn them.
I don't believe it is in the village's best interest to have staff attempt to
Oh.
salvage those documents with the conditions that have been outlined on this report. However, I wanted to present that so that the village board or the committee of the whole at this time, whether you wanted to provide some recommendations now or send it to a village board to make an official motion where we can kind of summarize that if need be on how to proceed with either the demolition of that building and the, what would be the word, to
Raise it.
raise all things, all materials that are within that building as well.
Do you know what they
Destruction of
are?
records. that
And Wally's crew burn it down?
Right.
But nobody wants to go in
The 50s, man, I tell you.
Ryan, do we know what those records are? Do we have any idea?
I could probably go through and do a very thorough search if I get my
No.
HEPA filter on. But the general view of them was a variety of building permits, stormwater documents, building plans from late 90s to the 2000s, 2010s. There were some tax documents that I think were already beyond the salvageable date anyway.
Mhm.
Assessment rolls, a variety. I couldn't name all of them, but those are a few.
But nothing that's critical to our ongoing operations.
We very rarely go in there to begin with now. I've only gone in there to adjust work with our public works. The water failed. It was flooding the
Right,
lot and
but the
then things like
documents-
that. But yeah.
The documents that are in there are not anything that we need as a village to operate on a daily
critical
basis.
evidence
It's
for
far
police
enough
department.
back.
To my knowledge, I don't believe that there's any records in there that are critical to our.
Ongoing operations.
Mr. Schmidt, what's your solution to this? What do you want to do?
You want to burn
Oh,
it?
well, my goal again is to obviously have some, to update the village board and have you guys provide us direction on either to just move forward with the destruction of records and the demolition of this building.
I would make a recommendation.
Hold on a second. Just,
That's true.
Mr. Wishaw, did you?
Well, just a quick note, I would back up what Brian said. This has come up multiple times
Right.
since I've been on the board. I would think
Committee.
three administrators ago, we investigated it, and that was many years ago. And at that time, we had already determined that none of what was there was crucial to the operation of the village, and we could probably destroy it, just never did it. So I think it's time.
Yes, it's come up
Make
on
that
our
you get the
part.
motion.
credit.
Make that motion to move it to the board.
Go ahead.
No, you.
No, go ahead.
You're the
Uh,
one who's been
One of
ahead
you.
it the longest.
One of you do it.
I will make the motion that Ryan continues with making arrangements to raise and demolish the facility and destroy the records.
Long time.
Is that what you need?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
Gentlemen.
Discussion on legacy speed limits. I believe, Fran, I think you brought this up the other last.
I did, because when Dr. Leiber was here, I think, Brian, it was you who had said we had all these legacy speed limits. And my concern is that if we have unsafe conditions, I'm not saying we should start cutting hills down, or whatever it is, but I wondered if we had a list of those, if maybe we should put up additional warning signs or something. Because apparently they're unsafe according to the DOT standards. At least that's my understanding of what you meant by legacy speed limits.
I was gonna ask that. Can you define legacy speed limits?
I don't know if, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'd have to go to the recording. I don't know if I ever specifically said legacy speed limits of any sort. I think what I maybe referred to based on the context of the conversation was everything pretty much from State Highway 31 west was built in the I saw some 1937 aerial imagery recently. A lot of these roads were already well built and established, whether they were gravel or some other form of pavement. And at that time, it being a town, there was no standard like the FDM to follow for the design and construction of these roadways. They were built to service the need of the town and the residents and the classification of the roadways that they were developed as. So typically town roads, farm roads, things like that. So those roads have, up until the late 70s or early 80s, didn't have necessarily the same significant level of design and care to how every geometric feature was accounted for. And so, based on the DOT, town roads were established at a 55-mile-an-hour rate just by default, by statutory speed limits. What's the other one? Rustic roads, like Short Road, when it was considered a rustic road, those were statutory established as a 45-mile-an-hour road. Now, you can drive Short Road between 4 Mile and 5 Mile with the curvature there, and you can tell right away, and that's kind of what I was referring to, you could tell right away that even at 45 miles an hour, based on the design standards that are set today, that those would not necessarily meet.
Right.
In order for staff to go and identify them specifically, we have about 158 lane miles or center line miles of road in the village.
Well.
Guessing most of the roads that we would have of concern would be west of 31, essentially from the interstate to 31, and would require a lot of the legwork that would typically involved in a traffic engineering study, which would be site distance exhibits, studies, surveys, classification of the roadways, density of driveways, analysis of crash data. So a lot of this work is typically work that would be identified under typical traffic and engineering studies. All that being said, that is a significant undertaking for the staff that we have, and is something I don't necessarily recommend can be done in-house. I believe the action, if you were maybe looking at something, would be to identify maybe areas that have a crash history, and
That's what I
then
was wondering.
staff could maybe then take steps if there are concerns, like in the situation of 5 Mile, there wasn't crash history on the hill. There was crash history at the intersection, and there was crash history at the railroad trestle, because people couldn't see the railroad bridge and kept driving under it thinking they could make it. So they clearly could not. So there would have to be identifications, and usually the guidelines laid out for traffic engineering studies are laid out by the DOT and are usually followed by consultants. Again, I think I'll just all of that being said, again, to say that I don't believe there's enough staff accountable to do that level of work, but there are maybe steps that can be done on an as-needed basis.
Well, so I was wondering, Chief, do you have the ability to accumulate crash information so that we would know frequent crash sites on some of those roads? Because let's say we could prioritize a couple of them at least if, these are things that were at 55 miles an hour, however long ago, and that's not really the proper speed limit now?
I guess not easily. I guess I could work with Ryan. We can look at traffic crashes across the village and try and look for areas that would have a cluster, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have to give it some thought as we sit here. I don't know. That's not something that I'm overly familiar with, so we have to look into it.
Maybe AI could do it for us. Probably could.
Are we gonna invest in it for him?
So I appreciate all the discussion on legacy limits because it's helping us understand it. But I think, isn't the root base of this, and I think the chief suggested this maybe a year or two ago, that one of the things we need to put on our agenda, if you will, at some point here is to look at a total transportation plan for the village as a whole. So we're not saying this intersection or that intersection, but taking a look, because I mean, the points Ryan's brought up tonight from when you were a town and when it was a gravel road, what are we now and how do we move traffic and people across this village on a comprehensive plan? Wouldn't that serve us best?
It's a larger undertaking, I think.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
It
I-
is,
a
it
big
is.
project.
I think
Huge.
kind of what you just said, I think wouldn't be necessarily a bad idea. It's something you guys have discussed multiple times now at the stage of people looking at speed limits at 4 mile and now 5 mile and now discussing areas of concern depending on geometric features like curves and hills and things like that. And you definitely have the power to look at some sort of comprehensive analysis of that type of, whether that be a general transportation study for the village, but I mean, you're going to be,
Right.
It was
That's-
$14,000 or
Right.
$15,000 to do a corridor speed limit traffic study. Now, extrapolate that to be
Right.
Something we have to budget
village-wide
for.
and also incorporate other factors. And some of those factors may already be addressed in things like the comprehensive plans that are going on now, but, and some previous plans that may have been approved countywide. But I guess back to the main point is that I don't think we have the ability to do an individualized analysis that maybe you were thinking of.
Okay, I'm just wondering, Chief, if you can see if it's without undue effort, if there's some way to kind of find those clusters by maybe you have maybe there's a whiz at tech or something that, because the information is there, if it could be somehow accumulated, and let's say we have 2 or 3 spots where the speed limit really should be changed because it's a frequent crash site? Is that possible?
I don't know that we're going to have the expertise to be able to say that speed was the cause of the accident, and most of them are likely going to be intersection related. So they're the ones that we would all know. I mean, you're looking at 4 Mile and Douglas. You're looking at V and K. You're looking at, or V and Northwestern. You're looking at the 38 and 4 Mile, 38 and 5 Mile, 6 Mile and 31.
Yeah.
They're all they're going to be intersection related. If a speed coming over a hill at any particular point in time or around a curve in a village, generally aren't a ton of crashes that occur without some sort of intersection or cross street. Not that they don't occur. There are people that cross the center line, but are those? I guess we don't have the expertise to be able to analyze the accidents and go, well, that's because there's a hill here. Right. And I don't know that there's going to be enough of them. I mean, that's why these companies charge so much money, because they have the engineering ability to look at it and do that depth of analysis. I don't know that we'd be able to do that.
I see. We'd have to hire outside experts to do it, is what you're saying.
Probably, correct.
We don't have it budgeted.
We don't have that above.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's something we can talk about this better when we get towards budget time, because maybe it is something we want to look at putting aside for future, but so that we can get that comprehensive plan. But the discussion, we understand it's not going to be cheap to create a good transportation plan for the village,
The whole village.
the whole village.
Yeah.
Even out by me, by the A&W.
And me by
Yeah,
on
and
this
you're
side of the
over
village.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll just lastly point out that too, in regards to the DOT and a lot of the guidelines that they highlight is that like individual design features like these horizontal or vertical curves don't dictate the entire corridor speed limit. So, for example, 5 Mile between 31 and 32 is posted, I believe, 35 miles an hour. But there's a 25 mile an hour zone that is advising you that to navigate this at 25 miles an hour. And that's an advisory speed. It's not a statutory or regulatory. So the police are restricted a little bit too because the advisory speed isn't listed in the ordinance that they write, you violated this ordinance. You know, there's another, the level at which, how do I want to say this? The research you'd be looking into may only come out with an advisory speed limit at a specific location. And I'm sure we've all driven down a lot of these roads, whether it's Foley, Botting, or things like that. If you put a yellow sign that tells you to go on this 55 mile an hour road to go 25 over this hill, human interactions have not led me to believe that they will follow that to the T, and have not always, you know, as Lee's mentioned in the past, right? People are either distracted or they're going to go the speed that they feel comfortable going, whether that sign says that or not. But that would be the probably
Okay.
ultimate outcome of some of those studies.
Okay,
Is that an
thank-
advisory speed limit? It may not necessarily be a full-fledged corridor modification that's justified.
That's what I was thinking, was some warning signs or something like that. They'd be helpful. But if it's too difficult to accumulate the information, then, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Wait, Lee wants to make
Oh,
a
I'm
cell
sorry,
phone
Mr. Webb,
point.
sorry.
Just one comment. I'm 68 years old. I noticed those signs
No.
now. When I was 18, I wouldn't even have seen those.
But you'd be looking at your phone, Lee.
Oh, yeah.
You were going so fast. I'm thinking about that curve on 4 Mile, just as you get to the trout ponds that says 25 miles an hour. That fence has gone down a number of times.
Lee, I always took those yellow speed limit signs as a challenge,
Don't-
especially on my motorcycle. Okay, suggested items for future meetings?
I have one,
Yes,
which is going to make Kim Cummings happy.
Go ahead, Fran.
You know, Todd is having these things where people come from 3 to 5, come and talk to him and find out about the village and talk about whatever. And so I happened to be here. Kim came and was talking to Todd about the fact that at the old village hall, the seniors met there for card playing. And then when the old village hall was demolished, they sort of shunted them off to the old building in Franksville Park, or the Joint Park, which is really not suitable. I mean, it's a drafty old, ratty old building. So Todd said that he thought that it would be perfectly appropriate if we allowed the senior group to meet in this area, which is empty most of the time, and then they could be here in a nice, sound, safe thing. You can speak to it, Todd, but that's why I'm bringing it up.
You can't speak to it.
A little agenda.
So the
To put on
agenda
the agenda.
item would be on of future village board or future committee of the whole meeting to discuss using Village Hall as a community center? Would that be appropriate?
Sounds like it.
For senior events.
Yeah.
Public event.
Senior event.
Okay.
Well, I don't think we can limit it by age,
No.
It's
for
an age, but
groups of citizens.
citizen group.
Senior groups.
I have one.
Holly?
I do think that we should somehow get an update on the website, and if there's more usability coming or if there's more work coming on it, and then also maybe bring back some of our own opinions on what we think would make the website better.
I've already registered
So,
Discussion on the village.
on website,
a
yeah,
couple. My website,
I'll second
and
that.
an update.
on the new
Yeah,
website.
the new website.
Anybody else? Nope. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you,
Cool.
everybody.